Welcome back, and hopefully you are still with me. I know the last few videos can be a bit quite advanced. It's quite advanced topics here in JavaScript that we're covering, but I want to get these things out of the way before we get jumping into the big projects. So yeah, it's gonna be a bit tough for a while, but bear with it. You can do it, I promise. And again, don't worry if it's hard, because these are kind of difficult things to understand, so don't worry. Okay, so next up what I want to cover is the keyword this, and this is another confusing thing in JavaScript. So the keyword this is how we can write it, is a keyword that again gets created in that global execution context, or when we invoke another function. And we saw that by default the keyword this, so if I do something like console log this, hit save, let's open up the browser, hit F12, you're gonna see by default is gonna refer to the window object. All right, so the keyword this is basically a pointer, all right, that refers to an object. It refers to an object. Now, which object does it refer to? Well, that depends on different cases. So it's kind of like a shapeshifter. The this keyword can change which object it points to. So again, by default, if we just do a console log this, it's gonna refer to the window object. Same goes if I just create a simple function like this, function say this, and I add a console log this, it's still gonna refer to that window object. All right. Now, where the keyword this actually becomes a bit more useful is when we create objects. So if I create a const user and set that equal to an object, here I'm going to add a name to this. Let's do developed by Ed. All right, and I can also add a function in here, or a method, because functions on objects are called methods. So I can do something like say hi, all right, and I can add a function in here. Also, by the way, if you want to add a method to an object, there's a shorter way of writing the syntax. So when you're adding a method, again, in an object, you can get rid of the function keyword and the colon like this. So this is just a shorthand way of writing it, and this is what we're going to be using from now on out. Okay, so in here, if I do something like console log this, and I invoke the function, so we know that we can access like user.name, all right? We use the dot notation to access certain properties inside here. So if I want to access the say hi method, we can do user.sayHi, and I can invoke it like that. In this case, you're gonna see that the keyword this will refer to the actual object itself, the object user, not the window anymore, okay? So when you're using the keyword this inside a method on an object, it's going to point to that object itself. And this can be very, very useful because we can create functionality and we can create other objects that's going to basically refer to that specific object. This is going to be dynamic, all right? We're going to get into creating objects from another object, all right? And you're going to see where this becomes extremely useful. Now, again, an easy way to tell what the keyword this is to check where you're invoking your function, because the keyword this gets set when the function gets invoked. So take a look at where your function gets invoked and take a look at what you have left of this dot. If you have user here, the keyword this will refer to that user. Okay, so if I do this dot name, it's gonna give me back developed by Ed. And again, the cool thing here is that I can theoretically create another object like const admin and set this equal to something else, because you might be like, well, Ed, I can do user.name here, so like what's the difference? I'm still gonna get developed by Ed. But take a look. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna remove this say hi from here. All right, I'm just gonna have a const user and const admin. Set this equal to name, and I'm gonna do something like admin. Okay, so what I can do is I actually can take that say hi here separately. Again, if I just console log say hi like this, all right, if I do say hi, it's gonna refer to that window object, okay? But take a look, what I can do is have this separately, and what I can do now is attach this function as a method to both of them, all right? So what I can do is do something like this. User.hi, all right, I'm just gonna create a random method here. I'm gonna set it equal to that say hi, all right? So I'm basically attaching this function as a method to the user object. And I can do the same thing with admin too. .hi is still same hi. And now if I do something like user.hi, I actually invoke the function or method, and admin.hi, hit save, you're gonna see that the keyword this will refer to that specific object every time. So here it refers to developed by ed, here it refers to the admin. Okay, so even though this is kind of just separate here and we attach it at the end, this gives us the ability to not have duplicate code like this. This is something that we would have to do otherwise. Say hi is equal to, let's do this like that, console log user.name, and then we would have to do something like this here. Here we have to do admin.name, all right? But with the keyword this, the powerful thing is, again, that it's dynamic and we can make it refer to that specific user. So maybe we can do something like this, dot name dot to uppercase, like that. So this cannot be say hi anymore. Let's do yell. So let's attach yell and yell. So now every time I call hi or whatever yell, we can rename this as well, on an object, it's gonna uppercase that specific object's name. So there we go. Okay. And then again, an important thing is just take a look at your left. So where you're invoking the function, take a look if you have something on your left, because that's gonna give you a very good indication what the keyword this is. All right, so in this case it's user, so it's going to be user.name.uppercase, and in this case it's going to be admin.name.uppercase. Okay, there's also a way you can use it with DOM. So if we have, let's take a look here, we just have some LIs, all right? So we can grab them, we can do something like const lists equal to document.query selector. Let's do query selector all, get all of them, all the LIs. And here we can do lists dot, let's do for each, because we have to loop over these for each LI. I'm just gonna run an arrow function in here. All right, just add an equal to and bigger than sign and curly brackets. And here what I can do is just say li.add event listener. So I want to add one for each. So click, and here I'm just going to run a normal function. Okay. The keyword this here, you can also use it here, is going to refer to that specific element itself that we attached it to. Okay, so here again, you can kind of look left to the dot. Here we have the dot, you can look to the left of it, and it's going to refer to that specific element. So if I click on the li5, I'm going to get that one. If I click on 1, I'm going to get that one. Okay, so you can use it in the DOM as well. Okay, now I want to show you kind of a weird thing with the keyword this, because it can be tricky, or it can kind of look like a bug, and you might be like, oh, okay, what the hell is going on now, Ed? This is too confusing. So you might have a situation like this. Let's say I have a const user. Again, I'm gonna go back to this to keep it super simple, because if I do some complex examples here, it can be very hard to understand. Okay, so take a look. What I'm gonna do is create a greet method here. Okay, And basically, I'm just gonna do a simple console log. Let's do hello there, and I'm gonna add this dot name. All right, so I'm gonna interpolate that value of name in here. Okay, so super simple. What I'm also gonna do is let's add something else here. Let's say I have some videos. All right, and this is gonna be an array. I have, or let's just add a number. I have like 25 videos. Okay. Actually, let's do an array because I want to show you something else in a bit. All right, let's say I have a video on HTML, on CSS, and on JavaScript, and on React. All right, just an array here. Okay, and what I also want to do inside this method is call another function. So I'm going to add a function inside this method. Add function in here that I also want to call. So let's do something like we do a greet, and I also get back the videos. So greet, and I'm gonna create a function. I'm gonna add this. Let's do const. I'm gonna create a function expression here. Const get videos or something like that is equal to a function. All right, just a simple function in here. Okay, in here, what I want to do is basically just do another console log. Console log. I'm going to add backticks, and I'm going to say you currently have. I'm going to interpolate here, and I'm going to say videos dot length. Videos. All right. So I'm going to this is going to give me back the number. So 1, 2, 3, 4 elements. So 4 videos. Okay. And when I call this greet method, I also want to run the get videos. All right, so I want to run this function as well. Okay, and by the way, we also have to add this here, right, to reference this videos array here. So the same way we did it in here with this dot name, we can do it here with this dot videos. Okay, so here is the problem. Let's go down here and call user.greet. Okay, so let's take a look again before we get going into this. So I call user.greet. It's gonna console log out hello there. This is name, all right, which is gonna reference name here. Then I create a function inside here, and then I'm gonna run the function, okay, which is gonna run this. You currently have this.videos, so this.videos. It's gonna give me back the length for videos. Let's take a look what happens. User.greet. This.videos is undefined. All right, so this works, but this doesn't work anymore. So if you remember when we talked about execution context, is that every time you invoke a function, a new keyword this gets created or generated. So again, it really matters how we invoke our functions or methods. In this case, we explicitly invoked user.greet here. So this method was invoked on the user, but this function here was just it just ran on its own, right? We just made it run on its own. So again, when this function also gets invoked, it kind of resets the keyword this for us, so it's not going to reference the object anymore. So this was it's kind of a weird thing in JavaScript, and it's kind of annoying. Like a normal person would still expect everything basically in here to reference like this, to reference the user, but no, it's not the case. So be careful when you create a function inside the method here, like this one. Be careful because the keyword this might lose its value. All right, and it's not going to reference the user object anymore. So people kind of did these weird hacks and tricks to kind of get around this issue. And what they would do is they would go inside the method. So here, again, here in the greet method, we still have access to that this. All right, this is working perfectly fine. As you can see, we have hello there dev ed, all right, developed by Ed. So at this level, it works. In here, and this function inside the method, it doesn't work anymore. So what people would do is go to the level where your this keyword still works, and they would create a variable and pass that down inside this function. So they would create something like let that or self and set that equal to this. All right. And then they would pass the self down everywhere else. Self.name, self.videos.length, and that's going to solve all the problems. As you can see, hello there, developed by Ed. You currently have 4 videos. All right, so that works perfectly fine. Okay, but this is so like, why? Why are we doing this with our lives? So you don't need to do this anymore. I'm going to show you a better way. So let's go back here, keep the keyword this everywhere, and let's get rid of this stupid stuff. So here's the beautiful thing that's very different from simple functions to arrow functions. When you invoke a simple function like this, a new keyword this gets created in that execution context. All right, so every time you invoke a function, a new keyword this gets set. The beautiful thing about an arrow function is that a new keyword this does not get set. Okay, so what we can do here is where we would normally lose its value is we would get rid of the function and we would just add an arrow function. And now the keyword this will not be like reset at all. All right, it's still gonna have the value from the greet method. So if we hit save, take a look. All of our issues are solved. We don't have to create weird variables like const let self is equal to this, and that, and it just becomes way more confusing. Okay, and that's why you didn't really see me use arrow functions as a method, because technically we can do something like this. I can add a say hi here, a method of say hi, and I can use an arrow function like that, right? I can still use arrow functions. But again, when you use an arrow function, it doesn't get its this keyword, all right? It doesn't get a this keyword like a normal method here or function, okay? So here, if I would console log this, it would still refer to the window object. Okay, so a kind of a super short TLDR, when you create methods on an object, just use this syntax, all right? Greet, parentheses, and curly brackets. That's going to ensure you that you're not going to have any issues, and you will always know that when you call user.greet, when you're actually invoking the function, it's going to refer to this user itself. However, when you have functions inside a method, again, when you invoke another function inside the method, it's gonna get its own keyword this. It's gonna reset in a way, and it's not gonna refer to the user object anymore. So we use arrow functions because arrow functions don't get a new keyword this, and it's the context of the keyword this is still gonna be the methods. All right, so the outer one here. Okay, and again, this is tricky because you might not have a function like this per se, all right? You might have something a bit trickier, like maybe you want to do just a for each inside, right? So I'm here, I'm just console logging this dot name, and maybe I want to do something like videos dot this dot videos dot for each video. Well, I'm running a function here, right? For each, I'm running a function in here, right? So if I console log this here, it's not gonna work anymore. So you might have like functions like this, and you might be like, why is my keyword this not working here? Well, we are running a function in here. So take a look, we get window, 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 window. So again, a simple way we can fix this is just use an arrow function. This dot videos dot for each, and we can just add an arrow function like that. And now if we console log this, it's gonna work perfectly fine. So there we go. No issues whatsoever. So I can do this dot name, and I can have access to develop by Ed 4 times. Okay, so those are the basics of the keyword this, how to create methods with a shorter syntax. Now there's way more to the keyword this when we get into constructors and classes and things of that sort. But this is a pretty, I would say, good overview for you to understand what this keyword means. All right, so I'm gonna leave it at this with this example, and yeah, let's take a look at some different weird things in JavaScript, because there's tons of them.